History is not a single, linear story. It is a tapestry of parallel sagas, of empires rising and falling on separate stages, often unaware of their counterparts across the ocean.
The prehistoric world was no different. We often imagine a single, monolithic age of dinosaurs.
Yet the reality was one of geographic isolation and evolutionary divergence. Two dynasties of carnivores, born from common, humble stock, would rise to claim the title of apex predator on two separate supercontinents. This is the story of a great schism in the dynasty of meat-eaters, the Abelisaurids and the Tyrannosaurids. Now, let us open the chronicle and chart the rise and fall of this great dinosaur dynasty.
Our story does not begin with the 40-foot-long titans we know, but in their deep evolutionary shadows during the mid and late Jurassic. This was a world dominated by established killer lineages, the Allosaurs, the Megalosaurs. In these ecosystems, the ancestors of our two great houses were minor players, aspirants to a throne they could not yet conceive of. In the northern continents of Laurasia, the earliest Tyrannosauroids were small, fast, and often feathered, creatures like Gondwana, overshadowed by its giant contemporaries. They were not yet kings. They were opportunistic hunters, their robust skulls and bone-crushing power still millions of years from perfection.
They were an experiment in predation, defined by their long, grasping three-fingered hands and slender builds.
Awaiting an ecological opportunity. Simultaneously,
the early Abelisauroids, branching from the Ceratosaurian stock, were similarly modest.
they too lacked the slicing teeth of the Allosaurs.
Their evolutionary potential was hidden, locked away in a unique blueprint for a short-skulled, bulldog-faced predator.
With arms that were already beginning a long, strange journey toward obsolescence. These were two separate, unremarkable evolutionary experiments, gestating in the twilight of an older age. Neither dynasty showed any sign of the empires they would one day build.
The great tectonic rift that was slowly tearing the supercontinent of Pangaea apart was the crucible that would forge them, setting them on two isolated paths toward the very same throne. The dawn of the Cretaceous period saw the great tectonic rift finalized. The world had split, and with it, the destinies of our two predatory lines. Laurasia in the north, Gondwana in the south. These became two separate evolutionary laboratories.
The old ruling class of carnivores, the Allosaurs and their kin, began to fade, their long reign ending.
This was the power vacuum our two nascent dynasties had been waiting for. In the north, the Tyrannosauroids seized their opportunity. The fossil record of Cretaceous North America and Asia charts their spectacular ascent.
From mid-sized hunters, they exploded in size and sophistication, culminating in the high imperial phase of the dynasty. Their evolutionary signature, their dynastic weapon, was the skull.
It became a marvel of bioengineering, immense, deep and reinforced with fused nasal bones to withstand colossal forces.
Here, we see a crucial adaptation. Their eyes rotated forward, granting them overlapping fields of vision. This binocularity, common in small hunters but rare in giants, gave them the deadly depth perception of a precision killer.
To fuel this cranial weapon, the dynasty reallocated its resources. The arms, once long and three-fingered in their ancestors, became famously reduced.
In the classic Tyrannosaurids, like Gorgosaurus, Daspletosaurus, and their ultimate expression, Tyrannosaurus rex,
Only two functional, clawed digits remained. This was not a flaw, but a ruthless evolutionary calculation, diverting biological investment from the forelimbs to the head.
The result was a bite force that has never been equaled on land. A weapon that didn't just slice flesh, but shattered solid bone.
Unlocking the rich marrow within. They were the bone crushers, the heavyweight emperors of Laurasia. Simultaneously, in Gondwana, the Abelisaurids were writing their own, very different saga of conquest. As South America, Africa, India, and Madagascar drifted apart, this family diversified,
Filling the apex niche left by the declining Carcharodontaurs. Theirs was a blueprint of bizarre specialization. Their skulls also became short and deep, but in a different way.
often fantastically ornamented with ridges, horns, and rugose textures.
We see this in the demonic brows of Carnotaurus and the thickened, armored skull roof of Majungasaurus.
We interpret these structures as tools for display, or perhaps even for strange, head-butting combat. Their method of killing, we believe, was different.
Lacking the sheer bone-crushing power of the Tyrannosaurs, they likely employed a slash and hold, or battering ram strategy.
Using their powerfully muscled necks and stocky legs.
But the most extreme hallmark of the Abelisaurid line was the fate of their arms.
If Tyrannosaur arms were small, Abelisaur arms became functionally abstract.
They were tiny, immobile, vestigial structures with nub-like fingers, completely useless for grasping. This dynasty had sacrificed all four-limb utility, committing everything to the power of its skull. By 70 million years ago, the schism was complete.
Two parallel empires of giant carnivores ruled the globe, each the undisputed master of its own hemisphere.
They were two perfect, yet utterly different, answers to the same evolutionary question. For 80 million years, these two royal houses had reigned in parallel, separated by an ocean and an equator. They were two solutions to one problem, each perfectly adapted to its own domain. But the world does not stand still. In the final closing chapters of the Cretaceous, the continents continued their slow, relentless drift. The Tethys Ocean, which had once been a vast barrier, was shrinking, squeezed between the converging landmasses of Africa and Eurasia. Island chains formed. Temporary land bridges emerged.
For the first time since their lineages had diverged in the Jurassic, the domains of the two dynasties began to touch. The Great Trial was not a single battle, but a long, slow ecological war fought on a new frontier,
the archipelagos of what is now Europe. Here, the fossil record reveals a dramatic, unsettling convergence. Into these contested islands, Abelisaurids pushed north from the Gondwanan mainland. We find the bones of Arcoveneta in France, a southern king planting its flag in a new land. At the same time, relatives of the Tyrannosaur dynasty were present, probing south from their Laurasian stronghold. Here, the two predatory blueprints were finally put to the test, side by side, competing for the same resources.
The sauropods and ornithopods of the European islands.
It was a biological contest, the bone-crushing, perceptive power of the Tyrannosaurs
versus the specialized, battering ram skulls of the Abelisaurs.
The fossil record is too fragmented to declare a clear victor in this frontier war.
But it reveals the mounting pressure on both houses as their empires, once boundless, began to press against each other. This terrestrial struggle, however, was about to be rendered tragically irrelevant. As these dynasties vied for marginal territories, a far greater trial was approaching.
A threat not from a rival predator, but from the cold, indifferent dark of space.
The true test would not be of strength or specialization, but of survival against oblivion.
66 million years ago, a 6-mile-wide asteroid struck the Earth.
The impact was an unconditional declaration of war on all life. The immediate cataclysm, the mega tsunamis, the shockwave, the skies burning with returning ejecta, was only the beginning.
The world was plunged into a dark, nuclear winter.
Ecosystems collapsed from the bottom up. The plants died, the herbivores starved, and the great carnivore kings, perched precariously at the top of the food chain,
found their thrones crumbling to dust beneath them. In Laurasia, the last Tyrannosaurus rex walked through a dying, ashen world.
Its bone-shattering bite useless against an enemy it could not see. Starvation. Met the same inglorious end. The thundering footfalls of kings faded into silence.
80 million years of parallel evolution, of separate ascents to power, were extinguished in a geological instant.
Neither dynasty outlasted the other. Neither won the war for the planet. Both royal lines were terminated, completely and utterly, by the KPG extinction.
Their legacy is not one of living descendants.
The birds that survived are from a different, much humbler theropod lineage.
The legacy of the Tyrannosaurs and Abelisaurs is written only in stone.
They remain a perfect, tragic case study of convergent evolution. Two different blueprints for a super predator, two separate empires that rose, ruled, and fell in mirror worlds. Their chronicles only to be unearthed by a new dynasty of intelligent primates 66 million years later.
The great dynasties are gone, their thrones empty.
Their story, etched into the rock of continents, serves as a profound testament to the sheer power of life to innovate, to conquer, and to achieve greatness. But it is also a somber reminder that no reign is absolute.
And that on this planet, even the most dominant empires are ultimately temporary.
Their time measured against the vast, indifferent scale of geological history and the sudden, unpredictable blows of cosmic chance.